I always like to teach anybody that I train that in these calls, it's much better to play offense than it is defense.
Mm.
And that's, I mean, you can kind of apply that same type of theory to shit, objection handling or your intros or whatever. The minute that you find yourself like not combative, but in constant like resistance with a client, you're doing something fundamentally wrong. Because in this type of sales, like, I mean, I personally used to get a lot of bank objections and I got a lot of social objections. And there's a couple like common denominators that'll happen. And one of them is simply just competency. Like people won't object near as much if you just sound like you know what you're doing. But unfortunately, that comes with repetition. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not too much that I can speak on that end of things. But um, bank and social in particular is an interesting one. So that's one of the ones that let me scroll down to the bottom of here. Um, and I also have a Loom video with a SOP on this. I'll send it to you. Where am I even at? Okay, so social. So this is what I would like to do even during like the pitching price. I know social doesn't even come up until way later in the application, but during pitching price, I've noticed that the reason that people are objecting social and bank actually is because number or social. We'll start on social. I'm bouncing between the two of them, but you do approach each one a little bit differently. With social, the reason that they are objecting you is almost it's pretty rare that they don't trust you. It's just that they don't know what's going on. They're not really like fully caught up to speed on what it is that they're doing. They don't know why you're asking the questions that they're asking. And usually just new agents just do a really shitty job at explaining and they're just like pushing through, pushing through, pushing through. Um, and they don't really like take their time with the clients. Um, Especially with these older people, a lot of them are, they're not the brightest. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you also have to realize that just because you know what you're doing doesn't mean that they know what you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
So what I always like to do with social that I've noticed that does help a ton is during pitching price. Like let's say we're going through the medical questions and I'm like, all right, and so to make sure that these numbers are accurate, just going to ask you a couple quick medical questions. Let me know if any of these apply to you. All right, you have any strokes, seizures, stents or bypasses, any heart attacks, any history, diabetes, blah 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 blah, going through the medical questions, and then after they say no 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 all good, I'll kind of like take a step back from the whole sales process, and I'm like, all right, cool. And Mr. George, I just want to let you know real quick, if you did decide to go with one of these policies, either today or later, all the carriers, they do a medical and prescription check. It's just going to verify that those answers that you give me, just making sure you're telling the truth, and they'll be like, oh well, yeah, that makes sense. That like even that alone does kind of start to like plant the seed in their mind. They're like, okay, there is some type of additional check to qualify for this. Like, this is an insurance company. They got to make sure you're not a liability. How do they
Mm-hmm.
do that? They double check your medical history. And how do they do that? With your social? I don't even mention the word social, but I like to always say that, like, yeah, Aflac here or American Amicable or whatever insurance company. Obviously, they have to verify your identity, and they're gonna verify those medical answers you gave me. It's not a big deal. We don't need you to go to the doctor, but I just wanted to make sure you're okay with that, or make sure you're comfortable with that. And 99.99% of the time, people are like, yeah, that makes sense. And then once you get to social later on in the application, it's usually not some crazy brick wall objection that you're facing. You're not having to play defense with them. You're like, hey, Mr. George, you remember what I was talking about earlier with those, the medical questions and everything? Yep. Okay. And yeah, American Animal, they are going to need to verify your social for that. Cool. No big deal. And you'll almost like if you take that approach and can just remember you can remember to be proactive with the objections
Mm-hmm.
and handle them before you even get to them. Very rarely will you get objected. Now, obviously, there are ways to handle it after. I'm not saying it's going to be bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
There's still going to be people who do object you, but keeping that in mind, it goes a long way. Now, with bank, following that same type of strategy, the reason why people get a lot of bank objections is they're soft selling. I mean, they and with the intro in particular, of course, it's a tightrope walk because you do need to make you how do I phrase this? In the intro, there is a degree of soft selling that you have to do, like, oh yeah, we're just doing some quotes, getting this out to you, making sure it makes sense, but that type of wording. Yeah, we'll get the paperwork mailed to the house, all that stuff. But once you're already at prices and you're making sure that somebody agrees with it and all that, that's where you kind of gotta like solidify beforehand. What I mean by that is let's say we get to quoting. They've agreed 150 a month sounds good. Everything checks out. Awesome. Now I'll just let them know, cool. So how this works, we're gonna fill out a quick application. Obviously, make sure you can get approved for this. And then I'll same idea as the social. Take a little step back from the process and say, cool. And Mr. George, obviously, I'm sure you probably want to look at this paperwork and everything before the policy gets started. And of course, they're gonna say, yeah. Of course, I'm not getting anything started today. But and you're like, yeah, of course, yeah, no worries at all. Do you think like 10 days, 14 days would give you enough time to look at everything? Maybe you and the wife check the paperwork over. You guys get in contact with me if you have any questions. Does that sound good? Oh, yeah, I'd really appreciate that. I definitely want to make sure I know what I'm getting into before we get a policy started. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So here's what I can do for you. Obviously, I know you're on Social Security. I know most of my clients like that aligned around the same time. So what I could do, I could set that draft date out for the 3rd of the month. So that way, obviously it's comfortable for you. And that gives you some time, you and the wife look over things. And I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number. That way, if you need anything adjusted or you have any questions, you can get in contact with me before it drafts. Does that sound good? And almost every time they'll say yes. And honestly, you'd be surprised at how many clients will get back in contact with you, during that 2-week period. You're like, oh, I changed my mind, whatever. That's the way I've always took it. Just making sure that they understand that there is a solid draft date. Like, yes, we are not getting a policy started today, but there is a policy being started. You know, that alleviates a lot of the tension in the call. And again, you're not being hit with some crazy brick wall objection when you finally get to bank, where you're like, why do I need to give out my account number? It's like we've been saying draft date since 5 minutes into this call. Like there's a draft date, and so very rarely will you get like a no, I don't want to give that out. So now handling the objections themselves, of course, we can go over that. But I think if the agents can understand that, understand to be proactive and basically handle these objections before they even get to the objections, the sales process is going to go so much smoother. I mean, I'm no joke. I went from getting probably like 3-4 bank objections a day to basically zero. Like same thing with social. I used to get objected with social nonstop. Why am I doing this? What are you talking about? And then, I would always find myself like playing defensively, just constantly handling objections throughout the whole application. And it doesn't have to go like that. Like literally take your time, slow down, make sure that you and the client are on the exact same page. Y'all know exactly what's going on. You don't want anything to be left up to assumption because, that never goes well. So that's just kind of my take on it. That's how I've trained a lot of people. I've noticed just in my own sales that definitely does. It works wonders for me personally, and of course a degree of that competency and making sure that the people trust you and you are on the same page as them, making sure that you don't sound like an idiot. And of course tonality and all that stuff plays a factor in this. I don't want to give out my bank account to somebody who's like, all right, and so when we getting this started, like obviously there's a degree of professionalism and articulation that needs to be there, but for the most part, that I've noticed that does go get out. I've noticed that helps a ton. Now, as far as handling the objections, so for the people that doesn't work on, which most of them, I'll be honest, I really do think it will, if people are putting in the reps and they're becoming more comfortable and more competent. Asking social and bank, it does get a lot easier. But of course, it won't work for everybody. Let's go back to social real quick. So social in particular, I've noticed there's 2 different types of objections that you're going to face. The number one, It's just going to be like, oh, I normally don't like giving that out, I don't feel too, whatever. It's going to be just kind of a hesitancy. And then the other end of it are people that are really going to fight you on it, like really, really going to fight you. And personally, dude, I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed it's a seems like it's almost a race thing. I don't know why black people do not like giving out their socials. Whenever I first started, swear to God, whenever I first started this, my only states that I had were Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. And if you know anything about the demographics of those states, it's just, you know, those are
Mm-hmm.
that's your client base. And social, holy shit, they protect that thing like it's, I don't even know. I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
So they are very, very protective of social.
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself in this situation a ton. But with them in particular, they're very rarely like just the hesitant type. And like, I don't really feel too comfortable. And normally you can just kind of address that as be like, yeah, of course, I'm a random person on the phone. I don't blame you. But Miss Susan, my name is on this application too. Trust me, I don't look good in an orange jumpsuit. If if that social goes to misuse, they know exactly who did it. And they're like, ah ha ha, okay, that makes sense. And then they'll just give it out, and it's usually not a big deal. You can just kind of downplay it and be like, yeah, I understand. Trust me, you know, you're not crazy for feeling that way, but here's why. I got my ass on the hook for this too. That type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, honestly, that's how a lot of my social objections have been alleviated. Just kind of making a little joke about it, saying, "Yeah, no worries. You're not crazy." But trust me, this is just standard procedure. Every insurance company does this. We're just verifying those answers you gave me a second ago. And then that's it. But the people who really fight you tooth and nail, I'll be honest, man, I don't think I've flipped too many of them. As far as like real social objections, like real people who are like, hell no, I am never giving you that. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is just like, I've been on like 2 day long social objections. I had this one lady who wanted a policy for every single person in her family. We're talking like 9 policies altogether. We got her kids, we got her granddad, we got her, like the entire family.
Mm.
And dude, they're playing. Sorry, my brother just got here and he's
I
trashed
can't.
right now.
I can't hear it.
Okay. But yeah, it's one of the entire family covered. I mean, we're talking like 85, $9,000 annual premium. Wanted everything. I've worked on this deal for like 2 days straight. Like I've been on this phone talking to the lady for like 5 hours at this point.
Yeah.
Will not give out social. She wanted to verify it with the police station, and I was like, holy shit. Like I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. But with social, I've noticed like, okay, well, here's one that I have that has worked a little bit. Would it help if I gave you a little bit more, information on myself? You probably don't know who I am. I don't blame you. Uh, and then I give them like my NPN number and then my name. Maybe take a screenshot of the application and text it to them. Things like that. I've noticed do help a lot. Just kind of giving some of your information, but to be completely honest, dude, if you're finding yourself in constant social objections, there's a fundamental problem going on. You know, I don't know. In my opinion, handling the social objection, it's not even something that like I've really spent too much time on.
Yeah.
Obviously, they
That's
need
okay.
to
I
know how to do it,
I have
but
a ton. Like one, I know how to ask. So like my account routing one is next to it's next to hypnosis. Like with
hmm
how good it is. Um, and I figured out how to ask for social the same way, where
hmm
it's like hypnosis. So I go, great. And then by the way, you're a U.S. citizen, right?
mm.
They go, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. And then the social.
Ah,
That's it.
okay. That is
And,
that is a good one.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I gotta prove that I'm a U.S.
Right.
citizen. That's it.
Yeah.
And it makes we used to, and I still do this. I still have it, but it makes because the problem is the preamble, right? When you do
hmm
such a big preamble about it, about like, all right, Miss John, and now the next step is basically to make sure that you're as healthy as you said you are. So go ahead with your social. Like it's this
hmm
big event, and then
hmm
they're like either yes or no, and as soon as they choose no, they just don't want to, whether they want to give it to you or not for all that stuff, they don't want to be the person that said no and you got them to say yes. That's all it is,
Right.
right?
Right.
um,
Makes
And
sense.
yeah, because even with like account routing, you're not saying yes, you're just saying yes later. Like
Hmm.
there's ways around it, but with social, it's either you win or you lost to me. There's no way
Hmm.
around it, and people just don't want to lose. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do that one. And then also when we go to transition to the application, I make a quick little thing. I go, okay, cool, I'm gonna start filling this all out now. Oh, and by the way, I like to be as transparent as I can. So if you want, I can text you over a link. You don't have to like download or sign up for anything. But if you click it, it'll actually take you to my screen, and then you can actually just follow along while we answer these questions together. Would you want me to text it over to you, or would you rather me just do this with you, like kind of like auditorily? 9 times out of 10, they'll always say auditorily. They're like, yeah, 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 just read it off. Okay, cool. And if you change, and then I go, great. And if you change your mind, just let me know. For those people, you don't need to send them an NPN number, card, any of that shit. They go, oh, I don't give that out. I go, oh, yeah, 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 no worries. Yeah, remember, like I said, the screen share? I'm gonna send you that link now. Just click on it, hop in, and then we'll put it in together. And then I
That
send
is
them,
good.
and then I
That
send them, yeah.
that is really good. There's another thing that we did earlier this year where we
Mhm.
basically made a Shopify landing page.
Yeah,
And so anytime somebody would, and this isn't something that I obviously give out to every agent, but
yeah,
um, we made a Shopify landing page, and
yeah,
anytime with literally it had the logo of the carrier on top of it. And so anytime that like, and people are so stupid, I'm like, y'all don't
yeah,
even, I could be such a scammer. Y'all have no idea.
yeah.
But it makes them feel better. And we're like, okay, would it be more helpful if I sent
Filled it
an
out.
encrypted link to you so that you could fill this in? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And they would
Yeah,
always do it. I'm like,
right.
retard, but whatever. Like
Yeah.
if that's what does it.
If only that
Yeah,
adds an
that
extra
I do like
one or
that a
two
lot though. The
sales
screen share thing, that's big.
yeah, if that only adds an extra one or two sales a month with that whole landing page, like if we were able to spin that up for each agent somehow and get like a Zapier routed
Hmm.
to, send them the social to each agent. I know it would be a big project, but if we could figure that out, an extra one to two sales a month would be a pretty big deal. Obviously, it would only be for agents that
Yeah,
are like, if you're writing 30K or more, it'll be part of like your month two or month three package we'll do for you. But um
yeah,
yeah, and then so also what I'm gonna do in the tools training, like the boot camp, whatever, the homework, and then also the class when I run it, I'm going to show them how to set up crank wheel. So if you never heard, have you
yeah.
heard of crank wheel?
Vaguely, vaguely.
Yeah,
I remember one of the new guys was talking about it.
it's so insane, bro. It's so crazy. Let me just show you how crazy this is real quick. So I'm gonna pull up crank wheel. First things first, I'm gonna share my screen so you can just see how easy this is. Yeah, we should show these people this because those people that you're like, I just lose them. We don't need to lose them. We can get all of them. Um, so first you can see it's a Chrome extension. Um, it's free for like 30 days, and then you can create. I tell people like if you're like, afterwards I don't want to spend money on this, you can create unlimited emails for it. Um,
Mhm.
and you just keep recreating accounts if you want to do that. I think it's something like 30 days. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so so I'll log in real quick. So I always tell them, hey, make sure to like log in. You don't want to be sitting here going, oh, let me get this pulled up, and just make sure to have it ready before you start dialing. But then look how cool this is. So you click Program Window. I click the Discord, let's just say, right? So I click the Discord we're looking at, and then you can, by the way, you can record this too. So you can record these sessions, which is pretty dope. But watch how cool this is. So I'm gonna put in your phone number. What's your cell?
727
Mm-hmm.
325
Mm-hmm.
7432.
7432. And I'm gonna steal that, the whole encrypted link. I like that. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so you're gonna get a text message here any second. Cool. Go ahead and check your phone. And then look how easy it is. So you get that link, right? Join my meeting. You click on it, and then it will take you. Not only will it take you in immediately, right? You don't have to do anything at all, but
That is that is
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but look at this.
Damn.
You can tell them, all right, Miss Susie, so I know I'm glad you got into my screen now. I'm glad you made it in. Here's the thing. Go ahead, do me a favor, zoom in for me. Just take your fingers and just click on it together and hold. There you go. And so not only can
Hmm.
they see it better, but look at my Discord real quick. Yeah, check my no, check the computer.
The
No,
computer?
no, no,
What do
like
you
yeah,
mean?
come back on the computer, not on your phone,
No. Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
So you can see my whole screen. I can see what you're focusing on.
What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got it. Oh, the original? Yeah. Yeah. It, yeah.
Mm,
All right. What were you saying?
You're
My
good.
bad.
But if so, notice how you can see my whole desktop, right? I can actually see what you're focusing on. So notice how you walked away. Look, it says viewer hidden window. You just left. But if you click
Mm,
that link again and you hop back in, I can see what you're focusing on. So when you zoom in, I can see, oh, she's looking at social or she's looking at the
damn.
carrier name or the website. Like I can see where their attention is. And if
Oh,
they,
that's insane.
yeah, and if they get a phone call or another text message and no, they hop off, I can see that they hopped off or they're not paying attention.
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
That's crazy.
this shit's dope. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be able to get those. Um, I think I got the word tracks, man. I mean, I heard you go over them. So at this
I
point,
mean, yeah, yeah, like social and bank, like they're really for new agents, they're just more likely to get a lot of them because they're not going to sound very trustworthy and they're going to be all new to this. And it's just one of those things that with more experience, you just get less of, you know? But yeah, honestly, with that, the crank wheel thing is crazy.
yeah.
That's dope.
Well, I guess the last thing is what was that? What was the like? What was Landon's method for handling objections? You said something about like yes and yes, whatever. What was like?
Right. So, like the basic framework, I guess you could say, and of course you can like this is interchangeable with any objection that you get, and and then of course like the objection handling itself, because obviously it has to make sense, but always routing it into a yes or yes. Like I always like to think of it as like they're the car, you're the guardrail, and they're gonna try to steer and veer off the road, and you just bounce them back into conversation, bounce them back into conversation. Like you just can't give them an exit. You know, if you're like, if you ended a objection here, let's say, oh yeah, I didn't, you know, whatever. Yeah, but just call me back at another time. Yeah, I can definitely give you a call back. When's a good time? Okay, 5 p.m. tomorrow. Cool, cool. Yeah, do you want? So we'll wrap this all up then. Yep, and then like it immediately, you're 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 folding to them, and you're veering off the road with them.
Mhm,
Or let's say I'm trying to give a better example. That was not a very good one. Giving them exits. You have to be very, very cautious of giving people exits, especially in the first 2 minutes of the call. By positioning yourself kind of as the guardrail per se, you're giving them only one of two options, and both of those options lead in further into the call. So when I like you'll notice I say like, okay, and just go ahead and confirm your date of birth for me.
mhm,
Okay. That's a question or more of a statement that I already know the answer to. There is no to that statement, you know.
yeah.
Or when I say like, okay, were you looking to, get the burial expenses covered or leave some cash with the kids? What was going on? There is no. You know what I mean? Like it's consciously like somebody won't answer no to that. You, they're going to pick one of the options, or they might object to you completely differently. Like I still don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. But they're not going to say no. It's still you have full control of the conversation because like consciously nobody's going to exit at that point.
Mhm.
It's I'm trying to give a better example. I'm doing a horrible job explaining this right now.
No, you're good
But
though.
when somebody hits you with I don't remember filling that out. The basic objection handle would be, or first of all agreeing with them. Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't blame you. Sometimes it does take us a while to get around to everybody. And then so you have the agree, you have the handling of the objection, and then instead of just ending it there, that's what I meant to say. Okay, now we're caught back up. I was having trouble like organizing my thoughts. So first would be the agreeing with them and understanding their situation, and then handling the objection. But instead of just ending it on handling the objection, saying, "Yeah, no, I know where you're coming from. Trust me, like I forget filling stuff like this out all the time. It's probably a little while back." Instead of just leaving that door open, and then having the opportunity to be like, yeah, then just hang up or whatever. You can just end it just by saying that very last piece, just saying, okay, yeah, I forget stuff like this all the time. So what were you looking for, this or this? They're going to answer one of them. They have to. It's like consciously they like no or an exit is not an option, you know?
Hmm.
That's something I've noticed specifically into the intro. It really, really does help a ton. Later on in the call, like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend handling other objections that way, but you got to understand, like, these people in the first like 2 minutes, everything is a smokescreen. Everything is a smokescreen. The only reason that we have their info is because they filled out a form at some point in the past month,
Yeah.
requesting info on it. And it's just true. Every single person did. And so we wouldn't have their information otherwise. And so I don't remember doing that. I don't know what you're talking about. I already got taken care of. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you can handle every single thing the exact same way. Because like the ultimate black pill to all this, or red pill, whatever, is that nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to you. So until you can get like kind of just force yourself into having a conversation with them, that's the only time that you're gonna have an opportunity at a sale. Everybody that answers the phone will meet you with resistance. It's just how the calls go every single time.
Yep.
Nobody likes dealing with you. They got better stuff to deal with. They're worried about their kids. They're worried about their job. They're worried about their Sunday football game, whatever. Like, you're
Hmm.
not top of the priority list. So yeah, I hate to say it, but just kind of forcing your way into a conversation with them sometimes is, or most of the time, is the only option, you know? And that's where, I mean, that's where most of almost every agent gets hung up at. I hope I did a half decent job of explaining that, but
No, it's
that's
good.
what I meant is like the yes or yes. Like,
Yeah.
if I were to handle an objection and not end it like that, like let's say you're the client, you're like, oh, whatever, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm good. I got that covered. Whatever. I'm like, yeah, yeah, no worries, man. So blah 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 blah, or yeah, no worries, man. I got that. I got that. I understand where you're coming from. You know, I forget stuff like this all the time. And then just ending it on a pause and waiting for them to respond. They'd be like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, there is no, that's just a wide open door for them to get you off the phone, you know?
Yeah.
That ending it in a yes or yes question helps a ton.
Cool. Honestly, bro, I think we got it all. I really think. I mean, what else
Yeah.
is there anything else you can think of?
There's a couple, I mean, with the needs analysis in particular, I definitely want to reframe that,
Yeah.
because that's something that I personally believe that the script that, you know, what the hell am I trying to say right now? What the hell?
I mean,
Dude,
we've been going
it's
for
like
6 hours straight, bro. It's all good.
yeah, fried.
Yeah.
Yeah, the needs analysis is it's one thing I don't really agree with about the script that that agency had. Everything else is pretty straightforward. I mean, the application's pretty hard to mess up. An application's
Yeah.
an application. An intro is an intro. Bank and social, obviously, there's some nuanced things about that I could add into that, but the needs analysis is definitely something that I've never like breezed over, and I think the more custom and the more curated, and also it's a great point to a place to build rapport with the client. Like, just
Yeah.
like I tell like all the new agents is like, it's very, very, very easy to hang up on a telemarketer. We probably get a call or two every single day of somebody trying to sell us some shit, and none of us ever buy.
Yep.
But it's because they don't separate themselves as actual human beings. If somebody actually gave me the time of day and was like, "Hey, Landon, how's it going, man? Yep, you remember doing this little like it's a human interaction. I'm not just gonna hang up my phone. I
Yeah.
would at least give them the time of day, even if I didn't buy. I would at least give them the time of day and have a back and forth conversation for a second, you know. And once you, what the hell was I, dude? I'm like
You're
fried. I'm
good. You're
like
good.
going on these little tangents and then completely losing my train of thought. But oh yeah, needs analysis and rapport building. That in particular, like once you can get to somebody to the needs analysis where you're questioning them and figuring out why they wanted this amount of money, who the money's going to, if they had any additional, debt or whatever, talking about where they live, state rule. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can make conversation, like genuine conversation with somebody during that time period. And if you're not taking advantage of that, I think you're missing out on something, on a massive portion of the sale. Like your job is not just to fill out an application with them. It's like, this is going to be your client. you know,
Yeah.
and the better that you can understand that, just the better that your sales are going to go because you actually give a shit about them, you know. And so many people get caught up in the because you know with this dialer system, yeah, you can pump out sales quick. Like there's plenty of agents that do two, three, four sales a day consistently.
Yeah.
But with that, it's like, all right, cool, you're making a lot of money, but also you know your chargebacks and things are going to start stacking up, and your persistency is going to get worse because you're giving less and less of a shit about each client. You know,
Yeah.
you don't know their story. You're just running through applications, another sale, another sale, another sale, another sale, and it's like that's a bad mindset to get into.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to have a you want to do both. You know, and the
So
better that you can really focus in on their specific needs, remember them as a client, really speak person to person, the better off you're going to be, in my opinion. And needs analysis is probably the best place um, in this whole sales process to do that.
So to help
You
you
know?
out, to help you out with that, while you're remaking that, I just put, do you want to, I just made a Google Doc of it real quick.
Hmm.
I'm gonna click on that real fast. And I'll just pull it up here so you can just see my screen. But so when they get to they say bit of both, I say, okay, got it. Okay, cool. Well, since the cash value side can be a bit customizable, let's just just first figure out the death benefit that you might need. Okay. And then they're like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like they're like, cause a lot of times they start off selfish, like, oh, I want the beam home bank. And then but they're like, yeah, I also need to leave some for my family. So it flips it on its head, right? Like we're going to get over that, but just let's go over this first. Okay. All right, great. All right, great. So first things first. And then this kind of like positions you as like an authority figure, like you've done this a million times, right? So first things first, who all depends on you, for income or, would be affected, God forbid you passed away, let's say, tomorrow, knock on wood. So right out the gate now we're getting them like focusing on their beneficiaries and the people. And then,
So that's something that I also do have like just I
yeah,
don't know, just naturally from doing this for a long time. Like
yeah,
the sooner you can get them to talk about their beneficiaries, because that's ultimately like what
that's
this
it.
is about. You
That's all
know,
it is. Yep,
talking about oh, do you want $15,000 or $20,000? They're like that's whatever. But
yep,
talking about what this is going to do for your daughter, that's a
yep.
whole different ball game. You know, they're locked into the conversation at that point.
Yep. And so, and then at this point, they'll say the relationship, who it is, my daughter, my son, my whatever, right? And then I go, okay, got it. Well, just to double check, I have the right primary beneficiary. So I play dumb here, so I can get the
Hmm.
name. And also, so I can, and this is, I paint the picture. So it's a visual, I put them in a visual headspace of painting this. So I go, so who would be the one to actually like go in, sit down and, meet with like the funeral director to have to plan and pay for everything, and then they're
Mm.
like, oh my god, you know what I mean, like, oh god, that
Right,
shit hurts. And then they'll
right.
say, they're like, yeah, no, no, yeah, it's my son, right? They leave that relationship, right? And so if they don't tell me the name, I'll say, okay, cool, what's your son's name? And at that point now, if the remainder of the call, I'm going to reference the son's name versus,
Exactly.
yeah, your
Yeah.
son. And then next thing, okay, gotcha. Now with final expenses like, funeral, casket, probate filings, I mean, typically it can be anywhere between 10 to 30,000, but by the time that you actually get there, it might be higher, with, how inflation's going, right? So,
Yeah.
let's start off around like 15,000 to be safe for now. Does that sound good? And then, now at that point though, they're usually like,
Dude,
oh, you're good.
get out. Jesus Christ.
You're
My
good, you're
bad.
good. At that point though, they're usually like okay about it, but they're sometimes a little bit confused, like, yeah, I guess 15's okay. Like they're not super into it. So this
Hmm.
is where it's a little bit different. Maybe you want to workshop this a little bit, where more like, have you given it a lot of thought, as far as funeral, casket, probate, like kind of building that benefit with them.
Hmm.
Whereas IUL, we kind of skip over it a little bit because we're about to get into income, right? Which is great. And now most of my clients typically want to leave behind anywhere between 12 months to 3 years of income behind. So, just to keep their, same lifestyle, or yeah, just to help keep their same lifestyle while they're mourning you, right?
Hmm.
So just to get some numbers together, what would you say is an average annual salary? And then now they tell me the salary, so I tell them the price, not like
Hmm.
how much do you want to leave? Right?
Right.
And then they
Right.
notate the salary. Okay, great. And then lastly, is there any debts or assets we want protected? Like a mortgage, car note to be paid off, student loan debt, anything like that? No, no, no. Okay, good. So in total, and then I read off to them final expenses, what they need, 12 months of income, we're looking for, and then around blank. Does that sound right? Gotcha. All right, so basically we're just building it up at this point, and then this is where the NEPQs come in. Gotcha. Okay, so with that amount in mind, when that day does come, is John going to be forced to like pay out of pocket or get a loan, or do you have some, like stocks, bonds, money stashed in the mattress for it all? So like now I go into this like assumptive tone. I'm like, you got it right. And then that's when they're like, well, and this is where we get like the first big objection out of the way, which is, yeah, I have something. And this right here, this is, I tell people this all the time. I teach them this. I'm like, guys, if you could have trust, you could have, um, you could have competency, right? You could have rapport, status, all this stuff, but there's no need, then you might make a sale, but it's going to be a chargeback. And what we need it to be is a need versus a want, right? If I starved you for 3 days and then I said, "Hey, man, I got a steak here for you, right? Do you want to pay, $1,000 for it?" You'd be like, "Hell yeah." You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
starving. So value has to come from the lack of, not from what it can do. It's
Right.
the gap, right? And so and then this is where it is right here. So this is it's so easy to overcome this. I already have something, right? Ah, okay. Well, I guess then, mind if I ask what makes you feel like what you currently have might not be enough? And all of a sudden now they tell you, they're literally selling you on why they need more coverage or why their savings account isn't enough or why whatever it is isn't going to be enough. I also have a full training breakdown video on when people say stuff. So like, oh no, I have term life insurance through work, or and I have all of that inside the master guide. And it basically breaks down like how to overcome each and every single one of those to make sure that they know term is temporary. Obviously, like you don't have enough coverage, otherwise we wouldn't be on the phone if you have permanent coverage. Um, um, if it's in a 401k, it goes through probate, so your family's basically fucked. Um, basically, like it's a training video that I do just on this section right here, and it literally just walks them through how to turn this into a need. So then they say it, and I go, okay, gotcha. Well, maybe just so I can understand and see the rationale behind it. I guess what's your main reason for wanting to go this way, right? With like the final expense, right? Rather than, I don't know, just burying money under the mattress. And then now they like, I'm telling you, bro, they like, well, I want it because I want this. And like they sell me on why they want this. And this works on age leads too.
Yeah.
And then
That's what
growth.
to say.
Yeah. And then growth is usually what they say, but you could, well, I need to make sure it gets to them and I don't have my savings or whatever. Right, right. Well, that makes sense. Well, since it sounds like you've already done your homework, I guess as far as, and then you just same thing. As far as the final expense goes, I guess can you walk me through then what's just been holding you back, just like from putting something like in place in the past?
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, and then all you have to do is just label them with a positive label that overcomes it, right? Wow, okay, got it. Well, then I think I understand your situation and wanting to not wait any longer, make sure it's set up, lock in the rates, whatever it is. Most people I talk to wait until after something awful happens. So John is really lucky to have you. And then all of a sudden now labeled with the label of overcoming this, all of the like these are all the reasons why they wouldn't do this right
Yeah,
here.
I agree.
And yeah, and yeah, so it's real. I'm just saying, like, I sent that to you, so if you want to use that to help
Yeah,
redo it or whatever.
absolutely. I think
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was looking for. I mean,
yeah.
I've always kind of had this general framework in my
Mm,
mind whenever I was on calls because
mm,
I mean, pretty early on to whenever I first started selling, I just kind of threw the needs analysis out the window.
mm,
Obviously, it wasn't like typed out, but I did have the same idea in my mind,
yeah,
and that's something I definitely want to teach the new reps because I mean, I'm not to like glaze myself by any means, but like I know for a fact if I can get a call past like two
yeah,
minutes, we can get at least into talking about it. That's the cool thing about like final expenses that these, even if they're age leads, they're still hot. Like if somebody
yeah,
hasn't got coverage, they know they don't. If anything, the need's gotten even worse since they filled in the application. You know, so with the intros in particular, like yes, that is going to be your top of the funnel. But with this, the needs analysis, and like really, really curating something that's like and building this much value and even getting them to sell themselves before you even have to do anything,
Yeah, bro.
that's massive. That's
Yeah,
massive. And that's the one thing that the agency that I was at before, like, they definitely didn't touch on.
yeah.
And so, and
It's
but
called
but people still did.
it's called NEPQs, by the way. It's neuro program. It's like like neurolinguistics programming, but it's literally like it's like psychologically proven to just
Hmm.
like for conviction,
Yeah.
and it was popularized by uh, what's his name? It's in the Discord. What's his name under trainings? This guy, I would say right now he's the king of from like what I know from he's like the king of life insurance sales right now, like being a guru. He's what's it here? Trainings. Jeremy Miner. That's his name. Jeremy Miner.
Hmm.
And Jeremy Miner is dope. And then this guy right here, his name's Johnny Mao. He takes Jeremy Miner shit to the next fucking level. So,
Hmm.
just as a heads up, like for future ongoing stuff, I'm gonna be pulling a lot from these two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these guys are sick fucking nasty. And now, well, actually, I'll show you here real quick. If you ever want a framework for this, by the way, because I made it really detailed, right? Because it's like
Hmm.
I made it like specific. Again, I dummied it down, right? But who I got this from was from Omari Thompson. I watched that kid do $220,000 in 1 month in issued premium on simplified issued. No, not a single one of them was underwriting like it was over the advanced cap. All of them around two to three
Ridiculous.
k. It's like fucking like
Ridiculous.
$165,000 deposited 1 month. Um,
Damn.
and his script is right here, Omari's script. And so and you can see is the whole thing is NEPQ questions, like from start to finish. Um, and obviously you can see it's fucking terrible as far as the formatting goes. But like Michael Molden is the same way. Exploratory phase, like vague what they have. Okay, well, making sure how do you feel like it isn't working or giving you the results you're looking for. Um, and it's just like so you start to realize that at the highest level of this, man, like as far as life insurance sales especially, people are really leaning into NEPQs,
Yeah.
and they are going absolutely fucking bonkers as far as because
Yeah.
it's
I
just you're
believe
making
it.
these people so like basically sell themselves.
Yeah.
The first time I ever tried this, I was like, nah. I used like an old script, and I was like, I'll try it. And I just grabbed one of those, and I was like, well, I guess like what makes you feel like what you have isn't currently enough? And the lady goes, oh my God, well, and she just like went on a
Hmm.
fucking rant about why it wasn't enough. And earlier she was cold as ice to me, and I was like, what are these cool? Like after that, like I was hooked, bro. Yeah, so yeah, basically this gets makes people pitch you on why they need this.
The
And
same damn
and then
strategy for the recruiting calls. I'm assuming that's what you're
exactly,
doing. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's the same shit, bro. No, it's literally how I sell now. I changed everything. And
Mm.
honestly, and not to like, I think again, obviously you're a great closer in your own right, but even in just how you handled some of the objections, I could tell that you don't really practice this much, which is fine.
Hmm.
But like some of the ways you're handling it was with information. So it was like I can't remember. It was something about like, oh, I don't trust, like I don't give out my social. It's like, or not social. It was something about trust. You're like, oh, well, we're licensed in every state in the country, and we have this and this and this, and whenever you say statements to overcome an objection, it's like a 10% close rate compared to NEPQs because you're always an unreliable narrator. So it's like, right? I mean, no matter what, even if a Swiffer ad told me, hey, this is a Swiffer ad. By the way, our Swiffer mops, they cure cancer.